Your wallet, my phone. Your wallet was slipping. Okay. Your wallet. Okay. Yada, 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 yada.
Are you picking up a lot of questions for me?
Yeah, let's talk those. There's a couple things we need just for the tape.
Okay, very good.
So we're good, Okay. Can you just spell your state and then spell your full name?
The state in which I live?
No, your state, your full name. Just say your full name.
Oh, state my full name.
And then spell it.
My name is Constance Connie Moore-Richardson, Constance. Connie is Connye. Moore, Moore, and Richardson, Richardson.
And where were you born?
I was born in Lynchburg, Virginia, which is about 60 miles south of Charlottesville.
And who were your parents?
My parents were Norma Woodson, and my father was David Moore.
Okay. And earlier you were speaking about the Woodson family connection. Can you talk about how the Woodsons are connected to the Letts? Is that correct?
Yes. The Woodsons married into the Lett settlement, or the Lett settlement married into the Woodson.
Can I stop you for a second? I'm sorry. Can you take your name tag off?
Oh, last time I put one of these sticky things on, it was on a suede.
So you were just, if you could just start again with the connection between the Woodsons and the Lett family.
And the Lett family. Harry P. Woodson, who was born in 1891, is the son of Annabelle Guy, who was the daughter of Samantha Tate Guy and Charles A. Guy of Mix Township. And when Annabelle married William Woodson Jr., who was born in 1866, they were married in 1890. Then that connected the Woodsons with the people of the Lett settlement. But it was not the first time that a Woodson had married a Lett. Thomas Woodson's daughter Hannah G. had married Elisha Lett, and his daughter Frances Woodson's son, Thomas Frank Cassell, had married an Emma Lett. So William Jr. was the youngest of all, and met Annabelle and married her, and they moved to Findlay, Ohio. She was a Zanesville resident at the time.
Were the Woodsons that lived in the Lett settlement, do you know?
No, they didn't, but the Woodson women were teachers, and the Thomas Woodson's children were sent away to school in Athens and these southern counties around Zanesville. So the Woodsons knew the families in the Lett settlement, and they were not strangers. As a matter of fact, it's no surprise that my great-grandfather William Woodson married Annabelle Guy, because the families knew each other. And at that time, I speculate that the families chose the wives for their sons, and the husbands for their daughters.
Can you just kind of give the context of who the Woodsons are and how they're connected to Sally Hemings and Thomas Jefferson?
Certainly. Thomas Woodson was born in 1790, and 150 years of oral history said that he was the firstborn of Sally Hemings and Thomas Jefferson. That's been passed down in my line, which we call the William line, from his son William, unbroken for 6 generations down to me. And I've passed those over on to my daughters. Thomas Woodson was born in 1790, and in 1802 he was about 12 years old. And Thomas Jefferson was running for president for the second time. And a disgruntled reporter who Jefferson had promised a position to was rather angry at Jefferson and began to write about the fact that he had children with one of his slaves, and almost inferred that Thomas Jefferson had many children by many slave women at Monticello. There's nothing to substantiate that, but what we do know and have always been told is that Sally Hemings' children were fathered by Thomas Jefferson. In the Richmond Recorder in 1802, James Thompson Callender wrote about this child Tom, who was about 10 to 12, and he labeled him President Tom. And our oral history says that Tom was sent away to a nearby Woodson plantation. And it's not unusual that he would be sent to a Woodson plantation because the Woodsons had married into the Jefferson family. His aunt was married to Colonel John Woodson, and there were many Woodson plantations in those counties surrounding Albemarle County. And as a result, the oral history says that he took the name Woodson rather than Jefferson as for anonymity when he would go into hiding, so there would not be any association to the scandal that endured from 1802 to 1804 until Jefferson was elected and came home to retire in 1805.
Can you talk about the connection with Ohio, the Woodsons?
Oh, sure. Thomas Woodson, we know, we located him in 1820 in Greenbrier County, West Virginia. It was then Virginia, now it's West Virginia. And he was a cattle driver and a herder, and he did many things. So he was hired by white families working to drive cattle into Ohio. One of the families that he worked for were the Rennick family, and it's a very well-known name in history as well. So he had been to Chillicothe in southern Ohio before he left Greenbrier County with his wife Jemima and those children born there, and settled in Ross County, Chillicothe, Ohio. That was 1820, and they lived in Chillicothe until about 1829, when he bought land in Jackson County, not far from Ross County, and started a settlement called Berlin Crossroads. And that's where he lived from 1829 till his death in about 1875.
And where is he buried? Was he buried at Monticello?
No, he's not. Ironically, none of us want to be buried at the Jefferson graveyard in Charlottesville. The contentious behavior of the Monticello Association members was all about that, but we never were, that was not our objective. We have an oral history from Madison Hemmings. Eston didn't have their oral history because they had passed into the white world after 1853. But Sally's son, Madison Hemmings, and Tom Hemmings Woodson remained in the African-American world, and they decided that Thomas Woodson particularly bought land for a cemetery, and it's called the Woodson Cemetery, and it's located in Jackson County, near the seat of the government, near Wellston and all those little places in Jackson County.
Can you tell me who your parents' were on both sides, both your mother and your father, their names, and where they lived and where they were from?
I'll start with my father, his name was David Carter Moore, and he was born in 1901 in Natural Bridge, Rockbridge County, Virginia. His father, Stuart Moore, was born there, and his father, Stuart Moore's father, was David Moore. That's as far back as I've been able to go on my father's side. His mother was Florence Stannard, and she was born in Richmond, Virginia. I've been trying to research that side of my family, but I am so involved in the Hemmings, Woodson, and Lett settlement research that I occasionally get around to my father's information. That was on my father. That's my father.
And then your mother's line is the connection to...
My mother's line is the connection to the Hemmings and Jefferson. Her father was Harry P. Woodson. He was the son of William Woodson Jr. William Woodson Jr. was born in 1866, and Harry P. Woodson was born in 1891. He was the firstborn to Annabelle Guy and William Woodson Jr. Let's see. My mother's mother was named Fanny Barbara Davis, and she was a native of Charleston, West Virginia. She was born in 1893, and Harry P. Woodson and Fanny Barbara Davis met at Wilberforce University in Xenia, Ohio, and they graduated around 1912. Well, it's no accident that they attended Wilberforce as well, because Thomas Woodson's oldest son, Lewis, was co-founder of Wilberforce University. So it was a place to educate children of color, and I think originally for the mulatto children who were children of slave owners once they came to Ohio, a place to educate them. Fanny Barbara Davis's father is William H. Davis. He was born in Columbus, Ohio. He was a member of Lincoln's bodyguard. He was a cook at the White House in that unit to bodyguard Lincoln. And after Abraham Lincoln was assassinated, William Davis headed back to Columbus. And on the way, one of his rest stops was in Malden, West Virginia. And that had become, where the salt licks are, that had become an area for former slaves to find work. Among those people in Malden, West Virginia, was Washington Ferguson and his family, and who was the stepfather of Booker T. Washington. When my great-grandfather William H. Davis stopped in Malden, he was asked to remain and teach the newly freed slaves how to read and write. He did. He never got back to Columbus because he met my great-grandmother, Hallie Lewis, who was a native of Charleston. So he stayed there and became superintendent of colored schools. He also, through a convention of black leaders in that day, was nominated to run for governor of the state of West Virginia in 1870. He did not win, but he thought this was a way to improve the school systems and make them equal, even though separate.
Do you think we need to go back?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, that was so loud.
I have a really good idea right now.
Harry P. Woodson. Lewis Woodson, co-founder of Wilberforce, was born in 1806. So that would be from 1806 to 1891, my grandfather, and I think that's about three or four generations. Third great uncle, I think he was. So Harry P. Woodson, Sr., because he eventually had a child named Harry Jr., and my grandmother Fanny Barbara Davis met at Wilberforce University in Xenia, Ohio, which was co-founded by Thomas Woodson's son, Lewis Woodson, who was born in 1806. They married in 1912 and moved to her hometown, which was Charleston, West Virginia, and started their family there. My grandfather had his degree in the ministry. He went to the Daniel Payne Seminary there in Xenia on the campus of Wilberforce. My grandmother's major was English, and she was basically at home with the children and a housewife. We're talking about 1916, 20, but occasionally she taught English, you know. And they lived in Charleston, West Virginia. Now, Fanny Barbara Davis was the daughter of William H. Davis, who was born in Columbus in 1846, and he died in 1932. He was a member of the United States Colored Troops, that was the bodyguard unit to Abraham Lincoln. And when Abraham Lincoln was assassinated, he was returning to Columbus to go home. And he was in his uniform, his Union uniform at the time, when he passed through Malden, West Virginia, where the salt licks are located, and the newly freed slaves began to go there and find work. One of the families that came there from Virginia was Washington Ferguson, who was the stepfather of Booker T. Washington. My great-grandfather, William H. Davis, was asked to stay by a Reverend Elder Rice and an abolitionist by the last name of Ruffner, to stay and teach the newly freed slaves and workers there how to read and write and some arithmetic. He agreed to do that, and in the meantime he met his wife, Hallie Lewis, who was from Charleston, and he never got back to Columbus. So he was made, because of the good work that he had done in Malden, West Virginia, the city government asked him to be superintendent of colored schools in Charleston, and he did do that. But by the late 1860s, he realized that the education was separate but not really equal. And a group of leaders, black leaders, got together and decided that the only way they could make some changes is to run for some office. They nominated my great-grandfather, William H. Davis, to run for governor of the state of West Virginia in 1870, and he got some votes, but of course he didn't win. But I think that was very bold and courageous and moving in the right direction of what needed to be done.
What has impacted you? There's so many rich things in your family history. What's the thing that you've learned that has impacted you the most? That you think is the most powerful?
Powerful thing.
Kind of thing. You know, sometimes you talk about standing on their shoulders.
That's the motivating factor for me. When I look back to 6 and 7 and 8 generations of people from the Lett settlement as well, and from the Berlin Crossroads settlement, and education was tantamount in the Woodson family. Education was very, very important. So on those shoulders I stand, on those that preceded me, my forebears, with those same values, which have been the moving force, their integrity, their value for education, their willingness to help others, and to contribute anything and something to the betterment of all the people. Thomas Woodson was well known back in 1830, 40, and 50 for helping all types of people who needed help in the community, or that was before 1865. His house was a safe house in the Underground Railroad system. His sons, James and William and George, were members of the Underground Railroad in Jackson County, not too far from Chillicothe. Also, his in-laws, the men in that family, and the women in that family, participated in the Underground Railroad system. So, with all of that in mind, it is very, very rich. But I think, as a whole, taking it in its entirety, with the contributions and the survival of my people here in Zanesville, Muskingum County, Mixed Township, and also on my other side, the same kind of people who had the same core values. And that's what has been passed on each generation. And I have passed that on to my children. They knew that high school was not the end. They were hearing about college and universities, and at age 8, I'm going to go to Howard University. That's what they were hearing, Howard, Howard, Howard. But they went on to go to other universities. But they knew that life was not over for them when they graduated from high school.
Can you talk about your other side, referring to the Lett family as well in that?
Well, I am a descendant from Banneker and Molly Welsh. Banneker was a slave from Senegal who was bought by Molly Welch, an indentured English servant, who had come over to the United States and the Maryland colony to work off her time for 7 years. She did that, and she was accused of stealing milk. She was a dairy maid, and she was accused of stealing the milk, but the cow kicked the pail over, but because she could read, they didn't kill her. They sent her to Maryland. She worked off her time, and she also earned some money, enough to buy some land outside of Baltimore City, which is now Baltimore City. And she realized she needed some help on this farm. Although she was opposed to slavery, she knew she had to find some men to work her farm, and she went down to Baltimore Harbor to the slave ship and purchased 2. Banneker was one of them, and he is a Senegalese, the son, it is said, of a chieftain of the Fulani tribe. And another slave. Well, the chief's son was not used to hard work, but the other slave he could do the manual labor. Eventually, Molly freed both and married Banneker. And over the years, after they had children in school and grandchildren, the name evolved into Banneker. And out of that, you have Benjamin Banneker, who is best known for the mathematical calculations of the city of Washington, along with Captain Ellicott and others who, Pierre Lafont is most given the credit, but it was Captain Ellicott and Benjamin Banneker who mapped out the city of Washington, D.C. So Benjamin Banneker is my 7th great uncle. His sister Jemima is my 6th great grandmother. And Jemima married Samuel Lett, and they had a son, Aquila, and that's where my line begins. My great-grandfather, Aquila Sr., Aquila Jr., then there's Margaret Lett, and Margaret Lett marries Joseph Tate, and they have Samantha Tate, who is my 2nd great-grandmother, who has Annabelle Guy, who is my great-grandmother, and my mother's grandmother. So that's how I am very entrenched and intermarried into the Lett settlement. And it's important, as important to me as my Hemmings, Jefferson Woodson heritage.
Do you have a sister? And can you just tell me about your siblings?
Yes.
Their names?
I have a brother who is a musician. He lives in Lynchburg, Virginia. He teaches school in the Amherst County high school system, instrumental music and band. And my sister lives in Alexandria, Virginia. She works for the Hewitt Company, which is a resource for human resources, providing personnel for different companies.
And who's the oldest and the youngest?
Okay,
And
my brother
what were the
Stuart.
names again?
My brother Stuart is the oldest. He was born in 1938.
Okay.
And he is almost 5 years older than I am. I'm the second child, middle. And I was born in 1942. And my sister Barbara was born in 1944, 18 months later. So that's my siblings.
So tell me about your earliest memory learning about your family when you were young that you can remember.
When there was a period of time that I lived in Charleston, West Virginia. That was my mother's hometown. My parents had divorced, and so she went home, as was customary to do. And she had 2 years more of college to do, so we moved to Institute, West Virginia, which is the home of West Virginia State College. So I spent from age 6 to age 12 on that campus. It was, you asked me about the influences from the Barry's family. That period of time growing up on West Virginia State's campus was a defining time for me as well. We were exposed to so much. That's where I started speaking Spanish in the 6th grade, unheard of in 1954 or 1955, and continued to study that till the 12th grade. So, where was I?
You're just talking about the influences of growing up on that campus.
On the campus. We stayed in Institute until 1956. In 1955, the college had its own elementary school, its junior high and high school, so that's where we were being educated by the professors and student teachers in the education department. So we were like guinea pigs for them, trying new things back in the mid-50s. In 1955, that was after the desegregation of public schools under Eisenhower, we were told on the campus, basically children of color, African Americans, that we would have to go to the nearby town and integrate the schools in Dunbar, West Virginia, and we did. But we were very happy. I know it seems a little off the wall that we would be happy in our basically segregated environment. But it was a village and a community, and we didn't see any reason to go and do anything else. Well, what did we know at age 11, 12? So we did. I was one of about 12 students to go and integrate schools for the first time in West Virginia. That was a great experience.
Tell me about that experience. What was that like? How old were you then?
I was
and what kind of things did you encounter in that?
12 years. I was about 12 years old, going into the 7th grade. And the communities were not that segregated in where blacks and white lived. You lived where you could live, and it was among whites, among blacks, but outside of that, then there would be the racial slurs and so forth. So when we went there, we were a group of us, and we felt secure about going to school because we knew each other. It wasn't a group of students, black students, that didn't know each other. We were all friends and known each other since kindergarten. We were also, our education was probably far above that at Dunbar Junior High. We joined the band. I played clarinet in the junior high band. So did my cousin. All of us. We were ready to do all those extracurricular things that were already in the white schools. The language club, the Spanish club, we just fit in. And the students were pretty nice. When I left there, I had about 4 or 5 really good white friends that I remembered for many, many years. I don't know where they are now, but I remember them fondly. Then we moved on to Washington, D.C. in '56, and that's where I spent the rest of my time.
And now you're living where, and how long have you been there?
I'm living in Los Angeles, California. Have been there since 1979. My husband, when he finished medical school, his parents were there and family, extended family, and he wanted to go there. We met at Howard University. He was a Howard football player. I was the captain of the cheerleaders. You've heard that before, haven't you? And he went to medical school after graduating from undergrad. Then he did his internship and residency at Walter Reed Army Hospital. I was happy because I wanted to stay in Washington. And although he had joined the Army during his senior year, at the tail end of the Vietnam War, I was happy that we weren't sent to other states or even abroad, that I could stay home and be there. And then in 1979, he decided he wanted to go to California. So we've been there since 1979, and he has his medical practice there.
And can you tell me about your children?
Oh, my children, yes. My girls, I have 3 girls. The oldest is Kelly. She was born in 1969. She received her degree from Hampton University in film and communications in 1991. My middle daughter is Kimberly Moore-Richardson, and she just completed, she also went to Howard undergrad. She received her medical degree from American University College of Medicine and just finished her internship at St. Vincent's Hospital in Bridgeport, Connecticut. Now she is starting her 3-year residency program at Cedars Hospital, UCLA, and King Drew in Los Angeles in anesthesiology. So I'm glad to have her home. I'm so happy to have her home. My baby, Karen, was born in 1977. Kimberly was born in '74, by the way. I didn't say that. And all of them were born at Walter Reed Hospital in Washington. So being in Washington for any of them is like being at home. Karen received her undergraduate graduate degree from Howard University, my alma mater, her father's alma mater. In 1999, she went on to Howard's Law School and received that degree in 2002. She decided that she was very, very, very interested in international affairs and foreign policy, so she decided it would be a good idea to go and get her PhD at the London School of Economics in that area. She did spend a year there and received her master's. That was after the aftermath of 9/11, and we thought it would be prudent if she come home. They were beginning to bomb in the subways in London, and I said, come home. So she did receive her master's from LSE. While waiting to find a position in the international arena, she heard about a position in Illinois Senator Barack Obama's office, and that's where she is as we speak on Capitol Hill, and she is his domestic policy coordinator. So those are my 3 children.
You'll be very proud.
I am very proud, very, extremely.
Do you have any grandchildren? Or any
Not yet. My daughters are just getting out of school, so now maybe they'll find suitable husbands and make me a grandmother. My sister has grandchildren, and friends have grandchildren, and so far I have embraced all of them as mine. But they're still not off the hook to have my own grandchildren.
I know your mother is still living. You said she's going to be 90?
Yes.
Where is she living now?
She's living in Silver Spring, Maryland. That's a suburb of Washington in Montgomery County. And she's been there since 1976. We have her in assisted living now, and she's doing well. And I'll go back for her 90th birthday on August 23rd. My stepfather is still in the home. That's amazing. He's 89, and he still thinks he can be, so my sister and I are allowing him to be there as long as he can.
And what's his name?
Edward McDaniel, and he's from Newark, New Jersey. He was on the faculty of Howard University from 1956 until he retired in 82. He's a psychologist by trade, and he worked at Howard University Hospital also.
So what's your mother's married name now?
My mother's married name is McDaniel, Norma Woodson McDaniel, with the C, no AC, McDaniel.
Can you tell me, do your children, what's their exposure been to kind of your family history, or how have you been able to share that with them?
Well, I've been...
Your family, living in California.
Oh, well...
Are they able to...
the Woodson Association has a newsletter, and my mother is one of the co-founders of the association, along with the wife of John Woodson. They met teaching in school in D.C. in the mid-'70s, and they bumped into each other, and what evolved out of that was research to find Thomas Woodson, and also the advent of the Woodson Association. So I have been telling my children, as my mother told me, from the time I was knee-high. She would say, we're descendants of Thomas Jefferson, and blah, blah, and, continue on with what was told to her by her father. As I said before, when we refer to the descendants of Thomas Woodson, we go by his children's name, and call them lines. I'm the William line. So the William line has had unbroken oral history about that till me, and I pass it on my children. Of course, it didn't mean anything to them. I told them, and they ran off and played or swam or something. Okay, Mom. But now with my increased involvement in this, since they have graduated from school and gotten their lives, that they're now beginning to, for it to sink in, where they will pass it on to their children, and it will remain unbroken for 8-9 generations. I intend to tell my grandnieces and nephew too. And at the moment, I'm in the process of making a book for all of my brother's children, and my children, and my sister's children, so that they'll have it for the next generation.
What do you think is so important about passing down oral histories, and what is the importance of our oral histories, and why we need to continue to pass it down, and what is unique about oral history from the written history? Well,
taking in consideration, I am a descendant of the slave owner and the enslaved, and for many years it was illegal to write. Death was the penalty. So all the Africans had was their oral history. Now, if you're in Africa, there is the head chief of the village who is the historian, and it's all oral. But in America, it becomes diminished. But that's all that African Americans have had for years. What we have been fortunate to do is there is documentation that we can, on the white side, that we've been able to research into, which would lead us to other documentation and support for our oral history. It's an ongoing process. I am the chair of the research committee for the Thomas Woodson family, and I will be making a trip to Greenbrier County, where we last found information that Tom Woodson was there. So it's ongoing. We are just now trying to find documents to support the oral history that we've passed down for about 175 years. And we're doing very well. But it's a long process, and so we'll stick at it.
Can you tell me what was your first memory or interest in kind of learning about the Lett family as well? What kind of inspired you to look into that one?
My mother inspired me. Her grandmother, Howley Davis, who was married to William H. Davis, she died when her mother, Fanny, was about 5 or 6 years old. So she only had one grandmother, and that was Annabelle Guy, and her grandfather, William Woodson, who lived in Findlay, Ohio. I remember my mother talking about Grandma Annabelle Guy Woodson, and she loved her grandmother, and she just talked about it, and she would go to see her. Annabelle Guy Woodson didn't die until 1851. I was about 9 years old at the time. I did not have a chance to meet her, but my mother grew up going to Findlay, and she loved her grandmother dearly. So it was always curiosity for me to eventually research and find out where she came from, and in particular the name Guy, which I hear kind of frequently and say, oh, are they related to my great-grandmother? My mother was my inspiration for that, and that's why I'm here for her, because she loved her grandmother so very, very much. And my grandfather died in 1970, so I was a full adult. Her father, Harry P. Woodson, in Charleston. I only saw him twice after we moved to Washington, D.C. in '56, before he died. And I wish then I had wanted to sit and talk with him and ask him about his mother's family. She used to bring him here in the 20s, at least his brother Lawrence. Used to bring Lawrence, the youngest. Annabelle and William Woodson had 3 children. Harry P., 1891, Florence, 1893, and Lawrence A., 1895. Lawrence never married, so he lived at home with his parents. And during the 20s, he would come to Zanesville to the Lett Settlement reunion. In my research, I found newspaper articles from the Zanesville, what's the local paper? Signal or something, a newspaper like that. I don't know. The local Zanesville paper, where they used to write up the Lett Settlement reunions and name the people who were there.
So the first time you came to the Lett reunion was what year, and what was that experience like? Describe your first reunion.
I was at Monticello in 2003, and before that, May 2003, we have a little website where we chit-chat with our Jefferson and cousins, and Ada Woodson Adams, who is here. We were talking about family and who you descend in. I said, one of the Hemmings people said, well, I'm descended from Pocahontas. And I said, oh, that's curious, because oral history has it that my grandma, Annabelle Guy Woodson, was also part Native American, but I don't think it was Pocahontas. So Ada Adams says, oh, you know, Annabelle Guy, those are some Guy family and Les and Zanesville and this and that. And so when we were at Monticello in May of 2003 at the May meeting, she says, are you going to the reunion in Ohio? I said, which one? She said, well, the Lett reunion. I said, no, when is it? She said, oh, it's next week. Well, I had to fly back to Los Angeles. I said, I can't do another, I have to go home. But she put me in contact with Robert Lett, who lives in Pasadena, and says, I think you have a Lett Guy cousin. Her name is Connie Richardson. She lives in Los Angeles. Robert called me, and then he put me in touch with Chuck Weicker, a Guy cousin, Lett Guy cousin in Findlay, who had all my information. And after being on the phone with him for 2 hours, prior to the 2004, that was April 2004, prior to the reunion in July, he gave me some information, and I had to go to bed after 2 hours. I was so overwhelmed, but relieved that I didn't have to go through the research process to find my relatives here. So my first attendance was in 2004, and I wasn't able to come 2005 because there was a Hemmings family reunion in Chillicothe at the same time. So I was in Chillicothe this time last year and was trying to find a way to be over here for about an hour or so, but they told me it's about a 2-hour drive from Chillicothe here. So I missed that one, but I'm here this year.
What do you think is the importance of families having these kind of reunions? I've been so impressed with the amount of information that you guys have organized and shared with each other. I think that's really a powerful, something that stands out from this experience that you don't always see in family reunions. So maybe some information, but I think you guys have really tried to make it very much a learning experience about family and sharing with the oral histories, sharing of written histories and everything, trying to help connect the lines. It's really been powerful, but what do you think is what's powerful about this type of meeting, family reunions, and there's something kind of, to me, it seems kind of somewhat unique, maybe of families in this region too, and the interest in genealogy, but coming here, what is it that you think is powerful that people take away from this experience here?
When we leave these reunions, we have connected with various lines. It's like a pyramid thing that's spread out. We have connected with our ancestors through those who are here. If we don't meet like this every year or every other year, but consistently, it'll die. The generations will lose the important information that's been passed down for a century maybe. Charles Henry Lett, for instance, he's 85 years old, and he is what is the African word for the Bannekers and the Letts? And the guys are from the Annapolis area, though. But it's never been held there, and we're thinking that those who are able to attend the museum can come and go back to the homestead of the Banneker Letts. But without holding some kind of reunion, either once a year or every other year or every 3 years, it's much like a high school reunion, you know. Mine now are every 5 years. We're going to be 3 years pretty soon because that we graduated in '61. We'll lose that all-important oral history that's been passed down for 100 years or more. It'll just evaporate. The world, it's easier now, though, with the internet and cell phones and all of the modern techniques, where we can now easily stay in touch. But this family reunion, they always want to be here. They always want to be here.
Do you know the story behind how the Lett settlement? It's part of the wild.
Lett, Charles Henry Lett would know exactly, but from what I've been told about the mixed township is that, I don't remember the year, but there was some strip mining going on, looking for the coal. And so the entire township, it wasn't just a township of mulattoes and blacks, it was also whites living there as well. But they tore down all the buildings looking for the coal. I don't remember what year that is, but there's nothing I hear that remains. No structure, no building at all. The cemetery, you'd have to ask one of those who live here. The cemetery, I think, I believe it was also moved. I'm not certain about that, so you'd have to ask one.
Are there pictures in the family of the community before, or are there many pictures?
We have a website.
Yeah.
And there are pictures on there of the Letts and the Guys and some Tates who migrated up into Michigan, Mecosta and Isabella County, Berrien County at one time. I am from Samuel Lett's son, Aquila Sr. I don't believe there's an existing picture of him, but there may be of Aquila Jr. But if you go on the website, you'll see we all have a tendency to resemble each other. So if we see a Michigan James Guy, perhaps that's the original look of James Guy who settled and co-founded the settlement with, it was Aquila Lett Sr. and James A. Guy Sr. who founded it.
I know a lot of people focus a lot of attention on communities around here and our mixed heritage. So many African Americans have mixed heritage. What do you think about, or how would you identify your ancestry, or what do you tell people about who your ancestors were, and how do you identify yourself?
Well, you know, in looking on the censuses from various years, the race category varies. I've seen white, I've seen mulatto, I have seen B for black, NEG for Negro. I don't think that it's for many, many years. Since there were 250,000 mulattoes in the state of Virginia only. I believe the year was 1850. There is no wonder why certain African Americans look the way they do. And so, since this country was founded and based on racial identity, we have to call ourselves something. During the Civil Rights Movement, I was at Howard University, and it was black, I'm black and I'm proud was the slogan, and then we were Afro-American, then we were African Americans, and I thought it was the government that had done that, but I was informed that it was black people who decided they're going to call themselves something else to identify with Africa. Today, I don't think it really matters much anymore. I was reading some statistics, and this may be controversial, but it is estimated that only 5% of the American population is pure white, a pure European ancestry. That we're all mixed with something, either it's Native American, African, or European. William H. Davis, his father was John, and he was a mulatto. His mother, he was born in Virginia. His mother, they say, was a woman of color. That could have been Native American or a mixed African and European. On the census is John Davis, father of William H. Davis, listed the father's birthplace as Scotland. So his father was from Scotland. So I'm Scottish on that side. I have a touch of Scottish on that side. So,
you know, one of the things I think is that sometimes people twist to make a very negative thing. And it's interesting. I don't know if it's cultural to this area and embracing, you know, your whole history. Maybe people's interest in oral histories and family and genealogy, or I don't know what it is that people, and not to say that it's consistent, but people try to embrace all of their heritage instead of and still knowing that in context, you know, I'm a person of color, and so I'm gonna have certain experiences in my life because of that. But it's what do you think is so empowering about, or why do you think that, or why do you embrace all of it, or talk about all of it, or research all of it, or
very interesting.
Or do you?
Well, first of all, I find it very hard to categorize myself by race because I consider myself an American first. And if I go further into it, all these many generations, mulattoes and quadroons, any mixture of African and Native American and European, if we think about it, that is the original American-made product, is people like my relatives, my ancestors and forebears who settled the mixed township in Berlin Crossroads. So my mother did not raise me to have a prejudice against any particular race, in spite of the fact that the identity is based primarily on race in this country. So I just consider myself an American. With mixed, if we ask further, then I go into the mixed heritage thing. But we're uniquely American. America is unique, and with a very rich history of peoples intermarrying and making this country what it is today. There are some sad parts of our history, like slavery and the pushing the Native Americans out of their lands at that particular time. But the positive thing is that we should all embrace whatever, not emphasize any particular thing, because it's very American just to be American. Not white, not black, not Hispanic, you know, assimilate, just be American. And that's what I like about it.
Is there a particular part of your culture that you celebrate more, or?
No, well, you know, on New Year's, I fix chitlins and black eyed peas and collard greens and cornbread. And I grew up during the Motown era and all. I played tennis. You know, it's the culture, this American culture, I'm just a part of. I do what our culture is. And it's a blend of black and white. Jazz, Louisiana. That's why we were also upset about Katrina. Not New Orleans. It represents a very special place to many people, all people, even Europeans and travelers from other places. They want to go to Louisiana. So I just do it, whatever it is.
There's, like, for instance, Native American.
Mm-hmm.
In some ways people acknowledge it, but maybe they're not so involved in kind of how they're culturally connected. Maybe their Native American culture or something like that. But,
Well,
what is your Native American ancestry connected?
I am told that it's from the Saponi Nation. And then James A. Guy Sr.'s mother is said to be of a Native American ancestry, but in the county of Anne Arundel, where Annapolis, Maryland is. I'm not sure what that tribe is, but I think we collectively agree that it was the Saponi Nation. I was told because of southeastern Ohio, perhaps it was the Shawnee Nation, which would include Tecumseh. I'm not sure. Other family members I can't do it all, have gone into, and I do have my registration form, by the way, this time, so that I can get my little certificate too.
So you're going to register?
I'm going to register, yeah. I'm going to register. I think why not? Yeah. Why not? But it's not I've never emphasized it. We used to joke all the time, you know, people of color used to say, well, you know, we've got some Indian, we're Cherokee, everybody was Cherokee. I said, okay. There is a Hemings descendant, though, not from Sally, but from Mary Hemings, Elizabeth Betty Hemings' daughter Mary, who actually, their descendants are descendants of Pocahontas. But everybody was claiming Pocahontas, and at first I was like, Pocahontas, really? But she can document all of that. I believe it's Saponi, Cherokee, Iroquois, something like that. I was in Salt Lake City at the Mormon Library, and I was they asked me if I had any Native American ancestry, and I said, so they say, and he said, what part? I said, well, Ohio, all of Ohio. And he happened to be the expert in doing genealogy and knowing where the tribes were in that particular time in 1880. And so he says, oh, well, if I were you, why don't you look at the Shawnee first? I said, okay. Never had to have a chance to do that. But because of Chillicothe and Columbus and Jackson County and Marietta and Zanesville and moving east like that, they dominated this area. The Shawnee did during that particular time. So there you have it.
Thank you so much.
Well, you're welcome.